We got a big crowd today. Jon Younger is a rock star.
He is a rock star. Always a rock star. And look, great to see Elizabeth Altman. Hey, Liz, how are you?
Hey, John. Thank you very much.
Yeah. How's the book coming along?
Oh, it's yeah. It's gonna one day it'll be a book. We'll be very excited about it.
I
How's
know,
your
right?
book coming along?
One day it'll be a book.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely.
First, it starts not a book, and then it becomes a book. It's amazing how that happens.
I know, man. And I told myself I'd never read another book. This is number 6, and I'm in that like the valley of death right now with the book. Not sure, like I can see not only where I'm from, but also where I'm going. So
yeah. We're still early enough that we're maybe still in the honeymoon phase of just being excited to be writing it, but we'll get there.
That's awesome. Well, we're really excited. So for everybody, Liz, just tell everybody what you're writing, and because I thought the workforce ecosystem was such a great article, and so tell us about the book for just a sec.
Thanks. And my apologies, I'm going to stay cameraless today.
Yeah.
I'm the guest editor for MIT Sloan Management Review on the Future of Workforce project. It's an ongoing joint collaboration with Deloitte, and we've been doing a lot of really interesting work. If you received an email from me, you may have even received from me or David, but I know one went out this morning about a survey. Please answer it. So we have our third global survey in the series. So our research involves a kind of massive global survey and also some really interesting interviews that we've been doing. And so anyway, putting it all together, we will be issuing our third in this series report in the spring. And we also just signed a contract to publish a book on workforce ecosystems. So that's
awesome. I think anything about. Yeah, anything to add to the knowledge and get everybody on the same page. So, well, super psyched to have everybody here today. But before we get into the programming, anybody who's new to the call, love to have them raise their hand. And Dave Alberts, I saw kind of an initial raise of hand. Tell us who you are, man. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Great to see you. And I popped in once before a long, long time ago, but this has grown and really interesting. Hi, I'm David, based in London. I have a company called Been There, Done That. And we harnesses the world's best strategic talent to solve world's toughest problems. So combination of commerce and good. So known John for quite a while.
Long time, man. Back in the advertising days. David's done an amazing job, and I love what David's done with Been There, Done That, because it's a kind of a cool platform, and it's super stealth, or it has been, and yet solving super really interesting problems. So thanks for coming to the call. Who else is new? Heidi, did you raise your hand?
I did. I'm Heidi. John, nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Coordinator at Communo, and we're a freelance platform, and we're just trying to spread the word about open talent and find work for our members and get great businesses and freelancers working together. So thanks for letting me join.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Say hi to Ryan for me. And who else?
Yeah. Hi, John. I'm new to this as well. I'm sorry. I might go next. I'm blaming Barry Matthews for this, by the way. I can see Barry's on. So this all came from a conversation. Yeah, absolutely, Barry. This all came from my side about 12 months ago in a conversation with Barry where he talked about open talent, and it led to me setting up Lava Source HR, which is our vertical attempt to help people source HR and HR technology talent. So great to be on here today to hear from so many like-minded individuals. And we just came off a call actually where Gartner spent the last 30 minutes telling everybody about open talent. So it's definitely a thing that's catching on.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it. And Matthias.
Thank you, John. So my name is Matthias. I'm based here in Maui via Morocco for about 3 years.
Maui, sorry, man. That's really tough.
Yeah. Background in technology, was at Yale University for 4 years, and then currently in the midst of the editing phase of a book around leading with courageous vulnerability. And I came to the group via MAFE, and I'm currently in the working group of the writing the code of conduct. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And Siddharth.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sid. Feel free to call me Sid. I work with the enterprise team at freelancer.com. And yeah, great to see like-minded individuals and excited to be here.
That's great. Thanks, Sid. And Roland.
Hello, I'm with also working with the group where with Mafe, working the code of conduct. I work as a consultant in developing team building as well as innovation mindset within organizations.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Anybody else?
I guess me, Alan here from Workana. Yeah, we're a platform for emerging markets, mainly based in Latin America. So I'm from Argentina, but currently living in Atlanta, Georgia, in the US. So yeah, glad to be here.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, Alan and I caught up last week, and one of the things I'm loving about where things are going is this is an explosion of really interesting platforms I didn't even know about. Workana's been going for a while now, and they're really rocking it, based in South America. And so it's really cool to kind of see this become a global movement, and really excited to, be able to share this, all the knowledge across the globe. So before we get going, because Jon Younger's here and he's got some great research, and, really appreciate all the research that's been, that we've talked about, the great stuff from Kelly last week, and then the great stuff from Steve King and MBO the week before. But Barry, you're on. So we've been on Barry Matthews, who you guys know, and I have been on this crazy journey lately. It's been super fun. As you guys know, I am an entrepreneur and have started a few companies. But when we started this thing, when I went to Harvard, I was like, nah, I don't really want to start another company, and I don't really want to write another book. But here I am. I'm, started another company and wrote another book, and sitting there, with Open Assembly and the amazing momentum that this community's kind of, created, and then CTW, which is just I'm so passionate about, the ability to transform work for 1 billion people by 2025. And Barry and I are on the phone. What was it, Barry? Probably only like a month ago, right?
Maybe a couple of months back.
Maybe a couple of months back. Yeah, maybe a couple of months back. And he and I were talking about, like, how do we, what's the best way to build the right team to do this? And Barry's done an amazing job. He, helped run the coaches and consulting training, and, we had some really great experimentation there, and we'll continue to do that. But really, appreciative not only of that from Barry, but also because he and the resource team have been a member for a year and a half. And I was like, man, Barry, I don't know if I'm really a great CEO. I could probably, I'm a good chairman, and I can be the visionary guy, and I can write the books, and I can get people excited. And Barry was awesome. He was like, I want to do that. So, Barry and I've decided to, combine companies. Resources now become part of Open Assembly, and we're going to continue to call it Open Assembly. And Barry's now the CEO of Open Assembly, and I'm going to be chairman. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here all the time, but, kind of focusing on the things that I do pretty well. And Barry's built a really robust consulting practice. But I think one of the things that's important from a community perspective is that Barry, the way he's constructed the consulting practice, isn't just Barry and his team. It's really this open network. And I love the way that Barry and Diane have been going to market together to solve things. And I think there's a lot of other opportunities to kind of use OA and CTW to create a base to really, create the momentum for the whole industry. I mean, if we're really going to solve this, not only for the demand side, but for the platform side and then the worker side, it's going to take all of us working together. And I'm really excited. Thanks, Barry, for being willing to come on this crazy journey with us and with me, and help really, create that momentum and put things into action. So.
Pleasure. I'm excited. I mean, I'm going to try to be the engine room to implement your vision, Jon. That's the whole idea. And for people who don't know me, so Resource has been a consulting company based in the UK, and our mission has been to help businesses to embrace open talent and open innovation. So making sure they've got the right strategy, operating model, compliance, security, change management in place, so they can start to embrace the benefits of open talent and innovation at scale. So we've been consulting into big companies and small companies, come from the outsourcing industry, where there is a whole category for independent advisors who advise enterprises on how to work, who to work with from a supplier perspective, whether it's an IBM, Accenture, a Wipro, a TCS, and then how to set contracts and do commercial deals and set up operating models and change management. So we've been sort of replicating that, but in the open talent space. We want to be the eyes and the ears of the open talent and open innovation industry. And so, yeah, when John and I chatted and he suggested we might merge the companies together, we've decided that's what we're going to do. So add our collective enthusiasm and momentum. And as I say, my job is to try and implement John's vision. So we'll be doing that with OA, and then also just put as much energy as we can behind CTW. We're super excited about the Center for the Transformation of Work. We have an opportunity collectively, all of us, to change an industry and make work better for freelancers, make freelancing a really valid career choice, and have the protection and the, you know, the certainty of demand and security. And so there's so many great things we can do there. As you probably know, we're excited to set that up as a decentralized organization and set it up on blockchain. And so we're looking at smart contracts and how we can do that. So there'll be lots more to come in that area. But yeah, this week is the first week of what's going to be a really exciting ride for us all.
Yeah, we're really excited. Anybody have any questions? I'm sure this, you know, like thoughts, questions, love to hear from anybody. And this is a, you know, really robust community and always lots of great insight and thoughts.
It's absolutely great news. So congrats to you and all the best. And my question would be, what are the plans? I'm pretty sure they are quite extensive.
Yeah, thanks, Agnes. That's a great question. Barry, I'll let you, you know, take that one.
Hey, look, he's already delegating to me. From an open assembly perspective, we'll be doing more consulting into enterprises. So the resource clients we've already got become open assembly clients immediately, and then we'll be going to market to try to help businesses access open talent at scale. So we do more consulting. We're going to expand the training that we started to do, and we're going to do a little bit more in the sort of research area with platform accreditation and trying to be the data source for the industry. So from an OA perspective, that's what we're going to be focusing on. For this community, it carries on as is, right? We don't want to interfere in the brilliant momentum that's already been created for CTW. So we will work on the blockchain model in parallel, so we can start rewarding everybody for their contributions in tokens. So we're doing that in parallel. But really, I want to keep the momentum up for the CTW. That is a community of professionals developing something for the industry, and we want to just carry on with that. So I put my focus into the smart contracts and the blockchain model in the short term.
Thanks.
I can't find. Sorry, John, I couldn't find how to raise my hand here. So,
yeah, no worries, Dash. Yeah.
Barry, would you mind expanding a bit more on the blockchain? Clearly, that's a shared interest. Would be good to understand what you're doing.
Sure. I mean, the whole idea is that we'll develop a smart contract that rewards the members of CTW, the community, for the activity, the effort that they put into the community. Now, exactly how that will work needs to be defined and detailed in the smart contract. So we're just starting to look at that. But ultimately, the idea will be that, you know, once you've been rewarded with tokens at some point in the future, and hopefully not too distant future, and maybe even in the next 6 months, we could then ICO, and then the tokens will then ultimately be worth something for the industry. So it's sort of fairly high level. Katrina, I don't know whether Katrina's on the call, but she's been developing the detail for us, and we need to get into that over the next couple of weeks. And as we get that detail, we'll share it with you guys, of course, and ask for your input. But that's the plan. We'll do it over the next sort of six months.
Yeah, Dash, just
let me know.
Yeah.
So let me know if you need any help, because we are doing something very similar on Small Outside using the Stellar network. So very, very similar concept. Happy to help.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, one of the things that Barry and I are really interested in, if we think about OA serving platforms and serving, you know, the demand side, really, you know, the CTW mission is to transform work for 1 billion people by 2025. And I think some of the friction in making sure that happens, right, are around things that are really social enterprises. Like, how do we help spur innovation in insurance and retirement and other ways to support freelancers, not just for one platform, but across the whole industry. And we feel like that one of the keys is to create mechanisms that allow for incentivization for these kind of social innovations, and that we as an industry can put effort into saying, hey, these are the things that would really help facilitate this becoming a much, much more robust marketplace. But they're not things that we probably would do individually or as an individual company, because they're just such heavy lifts to change culture in such a massive way. So that's what we're really looking at, is how do we use new economic models, new incentive models to really help incentivize the whole industry to make sure that we're getting the kind of benefits, to make sure this is a sustainable, that open talent has a really sustainable future. Hey, Alan.
Morning. I have just a couple of questions about, especially about decentralized organizations. Have you given thought to where you're going to form the organization? What is it going to be in the States or in Europe, or are you simply going to merge it out? I mean, are you going to spin it out of the merged entity between resources and OA?
Yeah, so just for some technical background, the OA is now we've changed it from a Colorado LLC to a C Corp based out of Delaware. So that's Open Assembly. The Center for the Transformation of Work has always been a 501c6, which is a trade association, a nonprofit trade association. So we're looking at everything. I mean, we really like the principles of decentralized autonomous organizations, but those are just so nascent. And I think we're all a little worried that maybe we're a little bit ahead of the curve on that. But the principles of a decentralized organization could be embedded in a nonprofit as well. And so those are kind of the things we're looking at and trying to figure out what the best way to go. You know, the guys at Opolis have run as a cooperative. Brain Trust has a foundation that they use. They're not a decentralized organization or autonomous organization as either. So I think it's something that we need to, you know, rely on the community to help us decide what we want to be, to make sure that we get the right kind of momentum, and we'll be looking to everybody to help out.
Well, that's the reason I asked.
Sorry, Alan. I was just going to say, as an idea, maybe we should do another call on this topic,
for sure,
because we've obviously got the legend that is Jon Younger here to
exactly
give us, an update.
Exactly.
And I'm really conscious we're taking up the time, but I also want to make sure that we're available, Jon, to answer the community's questions. So maybe we could schedule another session to discuss our plans.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I'd like to be involved because especially decentralized organizations are not very well recognized here in the States.
Yeah,
so
great.
You've got some
Absolutely,
problems.
Right.
Thanks, Alan. We'll definitely call on you.
Thank
so
you.
No further ado, the infamous, the famous, you know, Jon Younger. Are you here still, Jon?
I sure am.
Yeah. So Jon and I started, you know, a dialogue. It's been a while now, right? I mean, both kind of, you know, we've been around the block a couple times, each of us, and done a few things in our lives. And so I think I connected with you because we were both writing for Forbes
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. And I always have loved Jon's thoughts and, you know, just his passion for the subject. And so Jon, you know, really took it upon himself to put together this piece of research, which is really, you know, a powerful thing. If you guys want to listen to a more in-depth conversation, we had a podcast last week. And I don't know, Brandon, is that up now? Yeah, it's up. So
yes, it is. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so it's up and you can definitely dig in. But no further ado, Jon, take it away. You always have great things to share. And I think some of the insights you found on this kind of global piece of research is important for the whole group.
Thank you, Jon. And can everybody hear me? My computer is old and the earphones don't seem to work very well. So I am naked here. I'd like to just say, please interrupt me at any time when I'm speaking. I can't imagine a more boring person than Jon Younger droning for 35 minutes. And it terrifies me that Alan has a great white shark in back of him because I know that he's a man that's serious and I don't want to be hurt through this process. Let me say a couple of other things before I start. I had the chance to watch this center from the very beginning. I haven't participated as much as I'd like, but it's extraordinary. And I want to give you guys one data point for you, Jon, for you, Barry, around the power of what you've created. And don't fuck it up. And let me explain what I mean. Yesterday evening, I had a correspondence with Ivan Smigan. Is Ivan on the call this morning? So Ivan is on the faculty of the Skalkova Management School in Moscow. I'd forgotten to send him a copy of the report.
Hi, everyone. Same here.
There you go. And Ivan, God bless you, says, don't worry, I'll see you tomorrow. That's the power of what you guys have been able to do. You have brought people from all over the world on a regular basis. Ivan is that good looking. You can take off the picture now. It's terrifying. And I'm back because I'm going to show you something. Let's move. Oh, sorry. How does this work? Brandon,
Yes,
kill
sir.
Ivan's picture.
What's that?
Thank you. We love them, but I wanted to show some stuff instead. I want to give you just a little bit of background on me. The best way to describe me is that I'm the Forrest Gump of this little field, this little corner of the internet. And I am Forrest Gump because I've just really enjoyed writing in the same way that he's enjoyed running. It is a pleasure to tell the stories of this wonderful institution and this wonderful new form of management. And I got to tell you, I feel very much like an ethnographer more than anything else. This is a wonderful moment in time, and I want to capture as many of the stories as I possibly can. I think I've written or mentioned many of the people that are on here today. And please forgive me if you've read the report, if you've gone through the material, and you find me to be droning on, interrupt with a question or turn me off for a minute. Hopefully I'll continue to be interesting for the next little bit. I want to tell you what we learned from this survey, and I want to give you a little bit of background on the survey. And actually, John and Barry, I want to bequeath you this survey. Let me explain what I mean by that. We had the University of Toronto and I got together to make this happen. We were able to get 77 different platforms, associations, and agencies to join us all over the world. So it's wonderful that Upwork and MBO Partners have done fabulous work and great detail work in the US. But we haven't really done as good a job as we need to. In fact, we haven't done much of a job at all in really telling the global story of freelancing. That was the purpose of this. 1,900 folks participated. I wish we had had more, but we've been able to get participation from 77 platforms in over 30 countries. I think that is fantastic, and it's testimony to what's happening here. And again, John and Barry, this should have a home. Every couple of years, this ought to be done again. It's been done on a completely sort of bootstrap basis. We didn't take any money to do it, but we got 77 different platforms to donate up to 1,000, but as low as $5. If you were bootstrapped in a startup, we just wanted $5. And it's just been wonderful. Let me, if I may, Brandon, I'm gonna take the share and just tell you a whole bunch of stories, and please stop me at any time. First, freelancing is a work and career innovation that's successing worldwide, although at different rates of adoption. I want to tell you some stories about that. I want to tell you that freelancers are busier and more engaged and more optimistic than I've ever seen them. I want to tell you that over 60%, in the middle of the pandemic, over 60% of folks say that they have sufficient work, and 38% don't, which means we've got some work to do. But hold that thought. 63% believe by the end of the year they'll meet their financial goals. 90% of the companies that we're talking to are both utilizing freelancers and increasing their use of freelancers. And 60% of the freelancers we talk to around the world, whether full-time or side gigging, are committed, strongly committed to continuing a freelance path. Second message. The freelance revolution really is large and growing. It's a pleasure to use those McKinsey words. Not only is the freelance revolution large and growing, but the ecosystem around freelance is growing even faster. We're discovering just what they discovered at Sutter's Mill, for those of you in California, and that is there's more happening supplying the folks that are digging for gold than the folks that are digging for gold. And we've seen some fabulous stuff happen. We just finished a brief study on a separate basis with one of the largest US banks. They're excited to work with freelancers. They're excited to try to find ways to solve problems like difficulties getting credit, income smoothing, retirement saving, etc. So we're seeing the rest of the community start to put arms around freelancing and find ways to make it work. We're also finding that it's not only large and growing in the US and the EU, but it's large and growing everywhere. It's an exciting time when in our survey, not only did folks come from the US and the EU, but 16% came from LATAM, 11% came from Africa, and 8% came from Asia. I wish that we had better numbers all around, but it's a wonderful thing to see the growth of freelancing beyond the, quote, developed economies. Not only is it growing globally, but it's also globally in the kinds of people that are participating. We'll talk about that in 1 second, but I'm glad to tell you as a 69-year-old that 30% of the freelancers in our study, both full and part-time, are 50 years of age or plus. So we're talking about a revolution that's not just for the Gen Zs and the millennials. This is a revolution that has been accelerated by COVID, but it is growing far and wide in a very interesting way. Not only is it growing far and wide in an interesting way, but we're seeing more and more side giggers because more and more employees think of themselves as freelance light. And I want you to hold that thought for a minute, because one of the challenges for HR is they see a hard line between the folks that freelance and the folks that don't. It's not a hard line anymore. It's an increasingly graying line where employees who are typically not staying for more than a year and a half, and that's data around the world, are also asking for greater agency, greater variety, greater flexibility, etc. We are cultivating an entire generation or multiple generations, many of whom are freelancing and many more of whom think about freelancing within the constraints of their current employment. And that is a very exciting thing. Let me stop for 1 second. Any questions at all?
John?
Yeah, ask away.
One question on the age statistics that you've presented in your report. Actually, it's 31% that are over 50.
You were right.
And I was curious as to how you measured their inclusion in this sample. Are they actively employed? Are they?
The answer is yes.
So they are actively, gainfully employed.
Actively employed, and what you'd see, Alan, good question. 3/4 of our folks, apologies for not remembering all the stats, but about 3/4 of our folks are full-time currently. And of the other quarter, it's a combination of people who are side gigging or who are who are freelancing temporarily, hoping to get another job. I think the number for people temporarily freelancing was around 12%. And those numbers are not highly differentiated by age. Does that help? Cool. Any other questions before we jump to number 3? I do want to answer any question I can. Let me jump then to number 3. There is no one type of freelancer, and we start with the old farts, Alan, like me. And what's wonderful about that stuff is that this is a massively heterogeneous society of freelancers part and full-time, including almost any occupation you can think of. We've got people in our roles that are airline pilots, musicians, rocket scientists, satellite scientists, thank you, Tom at Spacely, engineers of a variety of nature, film documentarians, freelance diplomats. There's a firm of freelance diplomats. God knows we could use them a lot more than they're getting used right now. Investment bankers, M&A professionals, and executive coaches. It is extraordinary how quickly this is growing. I get, and I'm sure the rest of you have similar experiences, and Diane, you may have a very specific experience. I get 3 to 4 calls a week from folks saying, Would you like to see my pitch deck? I'd like to talk to you about my MVP. Could you tell me something about what's happening in this part of the world or that part of the world? What we're seeing is not only a professional movement, but we're seeing a student movement. I know of 4 platforms that are created, organized, and managed by students at university that are finding jobs for one another, as well as looking for longer-term employment overall. One in Hong Kong, one in Singapore, several in the States. It's very exciting. People are discovering freelancing not only as a distinct pathway of career, but also as a temporary pathway to career, and also as a great interlude between 2 things, whatever those 2 things are. Number 4, freelancers are by and large optimistic and confident despite the business challenges in COVID-19. I just want to read you some stats, because we asked about 30 we asked about 30 questions around how would you describe yourself relative to others. 60% enjoy freelancing and wouldn't do anything else. 61% are committed. 70% are determined to do what it takes to succeed. 80% are comfortable with change. 70+% are resilient in the face of adversity. 83% are willing to bust boundaries and try out-of-the-box ideas. Hold those thoughts and think about typical employees, and think about just 5, 10, 15 years ago, and in some parts of the world, how often people thought of freelancers as secondary talents who couldn't get a full-time job, who hadn't cut it in big companies. And listen to those data. Who wouldn't want a population of people that say 83% are willing to do what it takes to bust boundaries, to try out-of-the-box ideas? 70% are determined to do what it takes to succeed. One of the great uncelebrated powers of the freelance revolution are the qualities of the people in it. The solopreneurial qualities, whether you're a side gigger or a full-time freelancer, that really help to make this a very special community. Next, I wanted people, and I hope some of you will use the data from the next section in your public relations activities with other folks, that freelancing is a source of public good. I don't think we say that loud enough or well enough. Freelancing is an academic, had a wonderful series of chats, his late at night, me early in the morning with Matt Barry at freelancer.com, and I know there are some freelancer folks here. Matt said something that I adore. He said that freelancing is an economic engine that connects talent and opportunity. I think he is absolutely right. But it also, in addition to creating that economic opportunity, it directly and indirectly creates social good, partially by reducing financial inequality, but also because some of the work that they're doing is really important. Freelance scientists at CollabTree, a member of this group, and the pharma quality assurance people at LifeSci-Hub, another member of this group, are some of the most important people in the world right now in finding the vaccines and assuring the production of vaccines for COVID-19. Spacely is doing wonderful work helping us to understand what's going on in satellite engineering, which is the principal future form of communication for us as a planet. And companies, organizations like Omdina, and I hope many of you know about Omdina. I know that they've spoken, Mitra has spoken to you guys. They are providing crowdsourcing to tough social problems. It's really outstanding. There are some things that we need to do. So those are the wonders of this age in freelancing as I see it. And forgive me for speaking in such glowing terms. I'm a big fan. There are some things we need to do to keep this alive. One is, number 6, freelancing platforms must continue to add value to freelancers. We know that freelancers need 5 things. We know that freelancers need work. We know that freelancers need to see enough of a flow to work within their community that it's worth hanging in there. We know that they need help in building their business. We know that they need help in staying future-proofed, and we know that they want to be part of a community because there's so much that comes from being part of a community. But we don't do all of those things all of the time, and we don't in all of our platforms do the kinds of things that make freelancers feel like more than inventory, widgets inventorized who may get work. And so many platforms still have less than 10% of its folks getting any work within the course of a year. That stuff has to change. Most freelancers prefer to be part of only 1 to 2 platforms. That's what we found. About 80% of our folks are only part of 1 or 2 platforms. They're willing to make an investment. Are we investing in them? Are we understanding as a platform that we need to take greater initiative in teaching our clients to be better clients and for freelancers to be better freelancers? Many outstanding professionals join freelancing without understanding what it takes, and it's a different approach that requires some different skills. Some platforms are teaching people how to experience early success. And I'll go through a range of those at some future time if you're interested. But at the end of the day, our platforms need to be as committed to the success of individual freelancers as they hope the freelancers are committed to the success of the platform. Number 7, it's time for platforms to help freelancers by teaching clients to be better. Our data says 45% of clients are described by freelancers as understanding what it takes to make the relationship work. I cannot tell you how much progress that is in the 5 or 6 or 7 years since I've been part of this stuff. 45%, almost half, is tremendous. But we've got to teach the other 55%, and we're going to have to do a better job of showing and training and teaching, as Barry, you and Jon and others will do, what it takes to be successful as a client of freelancers. And here's why. Because you're going to need them more than they need you. There's going to be more opportunity for top freelancers over time, and smart organizations are going to have to be able to provide the kind of environment that attracts and retains top freelancers, not just top employees, but top freelancers. And we can go through those data as well at some length, but very, very important. Number 8, and let me stop for a second. Any other questions? Please. Brandon, tell me I'm not boring everybody.
Jonathan, this is Matthias.
Hi, Matthias. How you doing?
I'm doing well. And if you see me yawning, I apologize. It's early here, where I am. So that's what's going on. I'd love to hear, I reviewed your report, I think most of it. I'd love to hear you talk about working in packs in terms of groups of freelancers working together. So I'll hand it over to you.
Sure. So the big message around that is that some organizations, some platforms have done a good job of bringing together liked folks. Other organizations have done a good job of identifying the types of oncoming projects that are going to be more important and really soliciting interest on the part of freelancers to make sure we know who may be interested in being part of this, that, or the other thing. The third thing comes from, Matthias, a recognition. When we talk about enterprise, and Barry did that just a few minutes, we're also talking implicitly about full-time freelancers. 3/4 of the freelancers are side giggers. They're not full-time. When we talk about 60 million freelancers, as Upwork talks about it, the reality is 12 to 15 of those 60 million are full-timers. The rest are side giggers. If what we want to do is provide greater employment for more folks, we've got to bring full-time and side giggers together in order to attract enterprise clients and longer-term projects. Second thing we've got to do, Matthias, is we've got to teach people how to sell. One of the data points in our research was we know how to network, but we don't know how to sell. We're not good at selling. We don't like selling. We want the platform to do that to us for that. The reality is, A, you're more likely to get larger projects as you hunt in packs because you're hunting for bigger game. But second, you're helping each other to learn how to sell. And one of the very important things that platforms can do to help freelancers is teach them those skills. There's a variety of other skills that we can go through in greater detail. But I think part of what you're hearing me say is that the two-sided marketplace needs to find ways to create more services that provide more ways to help more freelancers experience success. Fair?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks, John. Hey, Mark, you've got your hand up.
Shoot.
Hello, John.
Mark.
Great to see you. Hi. Listen, I wanted to just see if you could expand a bit on point 7 and perhaps give us a couple of pointers in terms of what it is that clients need to be doing in order to be better. So we got a couple of kind of data points there, but can you put a bit of flesh on that in terms of the things that they need to change?
Absolutely. And Mark, if you have a copy of the report, what you'll see are 8 to 10 items on something that we've created called the Client Satisfaction Index. But what it means is not satisfaction not client satisfaction with you. It means our satisfaction with our clients. And so take a look at that. Our hope is that you'll hack the heck out of it and that everybody will find a way to commonly identify the most important criteria for success as a client, and second, how well folks are doing it. Here are the 6 that we've learned through research for what it's worth. And hi, Steve. Steve King has heard this about a dozen times, so I apologize. 1, companies need to have a clear philosophy around when and how they're going to use freelancers. Some folks are saying only on demand with little as possible. Other folks are saying we want to supplement critical capabilities. Other folks are saying we want to reduce our full-time employment roles as much as possible to provide the flexibility for change. 2 or 3 of the largest consulting organizations in the world have said to me 30% of their staffing will be made up of freelancers because they need that flexibility in terms of expertise versus new MBAs. I promise you that is relevant and important information. We need to be very clear as companies about how and when we're going to use freelancers. Second, we've got to do a great job of performance management. Employees hate performance management, but we need performance management as freelancers. That's how we establish whether we've done a good job and what we can tell folks about the people who think we've done a good job in order to obtain work in the future. Third, we need to train project managers to manage freelancers different than they manage subordinates. We have a colonialist mentality, and when you put it together with young project managers who don't have a lot of experience managing, it is very off-putting for many freelancers. 4, we've got to teach freelance project managers to work with their teams to welcome the teams that are working with them. They're not a threat, they're an addition. And one of the challenges is how do we invite our freelancers into those things that they can participate in that make them feel more of a part of this total effort, like meetings, like communication. At Qualcomm, you have to wear a different badge if you're a freelancer than an employee. That's a hard thing. It's, I'm Jewish. I get nervous when people ask me to wear different badges. Does that start to help it, Mark? 2 more. One is you got to pay them on time. And the last thing is you've got to be smart about the work that you ask them to do. For example, if we ask folks in the events and hospitality industry whether project managers have reasonable expectations in terms of deliverables, timeframes, etc., they would say no, they don't. That's an issue. It turns out tech people are better at that. Turns out marketing and creatives aren't as good as that. They want a lot more faster, and you know that, Mark, and at a very high level of quality, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some of the things. And the last point is not to be missed, which is they need to be paid on time. Can I keep going?
Yeah. I think there was a question from Steve King. Is there?
I would be grateful for a question from Steve King.
Well, thanks, John. I was going to ask you about Africa, but I don't know if that's a fairly
Oh no,
specialized.
let's do.
Yeah,
Go
could
to
you
Forbes.
just talk a little bit about what you found in Africa?
Yes. So for those of you that are interested, there was an article posted 2 or 3 days ago on freelancing in Africa, and what we learned was that if you want to find optimism, if you want to find enthusiasm, if you want to find a group of people that are saying they're going to make this happen, it is clearly freelancers from Africa. We had 11% in our survey. About 12% are estimated globally to be freelancing in Africa. And Steve, what we really learned was that clients got to get better. Clients got to get better because we've taught them how to be better working with freelancers. They've got to be clear about their philosophy, what they want freelancers to do and not do. 2, they've got to train their managers, because once they've trained their managers, they're in a better position to expect reasonable progress as opposed to unreasonable. 3rd, they've got to pay them fairly. These folks are not second quality people. They've chosen to be independent. One of my absolute favorite stories is talking to somebody who had decided not to hire freelancers, but to hire, I think it was BCG. And I said, well, tell me about the team from BCG. And they told me, and I said, by the way, how many people from BCG weren't full-time BCG? They had been brought in for the assignment. And they said, about 2/3. I went, so what's happening here? Are you working with freelancers or not? And the answer was, obviously, they were. So I'm very excited about what's happening in Africa. I'm very excited about one other area, Steve, and that's independent management consulting. I'm a management consultant by background, and I got to tell you, it's tough for many people on the management consulting side in freelancing, and here's why. It is culture clash, if I may put it that way. Many of us who were management consultants in the old days would get in a black car, be taken to the airport, fly business class, go to a 4 or 5-star hotel, get greeted by the client, felt like a king, sent back all the same way. Ain't so anymore. It's very tough for many of the management consultants that have moved into freelancing full-time, many of whom were partners at major firms. They're going through a culture clash that we need to help them with. They're not doing as well at selling. They're not doing as well at building client relationships. And they're expecting that the platform will deliver the value that their firm used to deliver. They need help. Another example. Let me see if I can, we've got 4 more minutes.
You can do it.
Let me just give you one last piece, if I may, and that is practice co-opetition. The close of this is Barry and John, you didn't come and make this happen too soon. We've got to work together as a community to help to build this industry. And I'm excited about the idea of some of the stuff that I've heard John and Barry talk about. I'm excited about the stuff of creating clearer standards. I'm excited about the stuff of not recreating in 800 different platforms an awful lot of the stuff that we could build wonderfully well once and share and hack openly. I'm excited about the idea of creating common language. You know, I call it the freelance revolution. I don't know what other people call it, but I think we've got more words than we have, more titles than more freelancers. And we've got to find a way to talk about what we're doing with enough similarity, enough consistency that people around the world know who we're talking about. When I have to redefine freelancer versus gigster, that's a problem. So Here's what I'd ask at the end of this. I've only given you a taste. I would love to tell you more. If you run a platform, I'd love to give an Ask Jon Anything kind of webinar for the folks in your platform. I want to tell this story as widely as I can because I think it's a great story. I think it's a success story about our industry, and I am so excited to tell success stories about our industry. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Brandon, because if I give you back 2 minutes, I'm a hero, not a schmuck.
I'll take it. Hey, Jon, that was amazing.
And hi, David Alberts. Sorry, I didn't say hi to you before. Hi, David.
Hey, Jon, it was fantastic as always. So
yeah, just fantastic. You know, I love it. And I love the fresh perspective, not only the global perspective, but also the worker perspective. It's something that's super, super important. We need to keep in mind. I think it's, you know, for all of us, it's especially on the platform side and inside organizations, we're trying to figure out from that perspective on how, you know, how we best provide, you know, a great platform, but also then on the demand side, how do we do this inside our organizations? And sometimes the thing that gets, you know, that falls through the cracks is, you know, what's this all mean for freelancers? How to do the best job? Because that's really the source of inspiration and the source of all this stuff. If freelancers weren't around, this couldn't happen. So Jon, I really appreciate the perspective, and, you know, as always, you own it. And, you know, anytime we can get you for a few minutes into the group to, you know, spin some wisdom, it's always awesome. So
I'm in. Jon,
Yeah.
could I make one other statement just very quickly? And
You
that
bet.
is, I love all the stuff that you guys are doing on the demand side. I would remind us that our biggest challenge long-term is supply.
Yep.
That if you guys, and I'm saying if us people really want to see this have an impact around the world, we have to increase the size of full-time freelancing and make it attractive to people. We've got to figure out how to do that, because otherwise it won't scale. It won't make a big dent in the kind of enterprises that you want to and that I want to.
I love that. And obviously that's one of the things we're dedicated, you know, to the group. And you know, the idea for CTW, a mission of, you know, transforming work for 1 billion people by 2025. I know it's an audacious goal, as Barry and I and John Healy were talking about earlier. You know, it's something that keeps me up at night, but I think it's possible with this amazing group of people that we have. And, you know, if we all work together, we can see that happen and then get to where you want to go. And I think that's exactly the great North Star there, Jon. So thanks again for everybody being here today. Love you guys. Just love the energy. So much great work going on, and let's just keep the conversation going. Talk soon.
Thank you, Jon.
Fantastic call. Thank you.
Thanks.